Friendship supreme. Friendship supreme. Finding the geek within.
So while we are on current topics happening in the world today, we thought we would address something that has been going around again. It happened a lot in the 90s and early 2000s, and it seems to be going around the circle again. Unfortunately, it is also tied together with lots of tragic things, but we've had lots of shootings lately. A lot of mass shootings.
More in like a short amount of time than typical. And it's sad that there's a typical.
Right. Sadly, yeah. It's sad that we're just used to it, or it's kind of jaded to it, I guess, now. But for whatever reason, every once in a while, when this happens, we start circulating the idea, or the news starts circulating the idea that violence is passed along via video games. And it tends to give really bad view towards like gamers in general. So I thought it would be interesting to kind of just talk amongst us three, considering Cleve and I are both pretty avid video game players. Stephanie is not, unless you count Candy Crush.
Insert your game here. Insert your mobile game here.
Harvest Moon. I don't know. Who do you play?
Play Mario Kart.
Mario Kart.
Is that why you drive the way you do?
Yeah.
That makes sense.
I throw bananas out the window constantly.
So I don't know. It's an interesting concept. I feel like it's an easy scapegoat from both ends of it, actually. So I feel like a lot of times pro gun users use video games as like, oh no, there's no way it's our gun's fault. It's video games. And then I also feel like the other side of it is very much like, you know, violence, and they don't want to blame terrorism necessarily, even if it's not what our traditional understanding of terrorism is, which is like religion-based terrorism.
Yeah.
But they don't want to think that there's I don't know. For some reason, I'm not going to be an expert in any means, but for some reason it feels like every time we go through a alarming increase in shootings, we suddenly start playing video games.
It comes up.
Yeah.
Every time.
And so, I don't know. Do you have any, like, opening feelings about that?
I mean, I've not done anything, and I've played games as long as I know. There's something there in that person that we can't pinpoint, but is it because they're young and male that we associate it with games?
I think so. Like the Columbine kids was the first time I remember this coming up, and so when I was in high school, I think my senior year in high school, I wrote a paper on this, and actually challenged myself and took the opposing side. Because I don't believe that the violence in video games is necessarily caused mass shootings, but when I was writing this paper, I thought it'd be more challenging to argue from a side that I don't necessarily agree upon. But I remember the Columbine kids being the first ones that I genuinely remember them talking about playing video games and it being what caused this violence. And they played Mortal Kombat and Doom were the two games that they played. And because they played Mortal Kombat, I remember not being able to play Mortal Kombat until I was probably like 15. Because they were convinced that if I played Mortal Kombat, I would want to murder people. So I used to sneak over to a friend's house and play Mortal Kombat because we weren't allowed to play it.
I played Mortal Kombat. I don't know running around punching people.
See? And I don't try to pretend like I know Kung Fu. I do yell I know Kung Fu a lot, but I don't actually.
You go, Kung Fu Panda!
Well,
you know what? And it's funny because even the generation now, they're blaming like Fortnite, and Fortnite's the as comical version of violence as you can get. But that's goes in their argument
right.
Because you just die and go right back into another game like it's nothing.
Well, yeah, and then we're trivializing death. But and like there are TV shows that perpetuate the stereotype as well because like NCIS. Is that the one with the blonde girl with the glasses that's like good at computers. What's that?
Criminal Minds.
Criminal Minds. They had an episode where the kid thought he was in a video game, so he was killing people.
Mm-hmm.
And like they kept talking about, this video game's so violent, and that's why they think it's okay, because they're used to just dying and coming right back, and they don't understand the concept of death. The question is whether or not it's video games that are doing that, or the lack of parenting. Like, at what point do we put responsibility on parenting or upbringing in some manner, or over blaming something that is... Well, even... Okay, so... Sorry. I'm jumping around a little bit. I worked at Best Buy, right?
Mm-hmm.
I worked in the video game department when it was a department. I can't tell you how many times, and I'm sure if anybody out there played games, worked at GameStop, probably has same stories. I can't tell you how many times someone, 8 to 10-year-old kid would come up to me with Grand Theft Auto and say, "This is what I want to buy." And I would just say, "I need to speak to a parent."
Mm-hmm.
Parent would come over, and I would say, "I just need you to understand this is a mature game. It has violence. It has this, this, and this." Well, it's not that bad, is it? Well, there are I'm not obligated at that point anymore to tell you anything, but I usually did. I said, "Well, understand that there are situations in which they will come across hookers. They'll come across drugs. They will kill people." Oh, well, I don't know that I'm okay with, most of the time it was, sorry, 2 stories. Most of the time it was, "Oh, that's okay, they'll be fine." 99% of the time, I never had a parent tell me no, except for one. That one parent said, "I'm not okay with them shooting they said, "Are they killing other people?" I said, "Yes." "Oh, I'm not okay with that. Do you have any games where they shoot against things that aren't people?" And I said, "Well, what do you mean?" "Well, is there one that they kill aliens?"
Aliens, zombies, yeah.
Like, that suddenly made it okay, and so that was when she then bought Halo instead. But at what point does it become the parent's responsibility for me to say, "Hey, you shouldn't buy this game, it has an M rated." The ESRP came out because of the 90s, when they were saying video games are too violent, they're causing people to kill each other. So they came out the ESRP rating, and it's not being adhered to. As an adult, buying for your kid, you say, "Oh, shit, Grand Theft Auto, it's a 17. You shouldn't play it because this, this, and this." I'm not going to buy it for my kid. Or if I do, I'm going to sit down and have a conversation with them about why it's not okay. Why, while you're doing this in a video game, it's not okay to do it in the real world.
Right.
I don't know.
I mean, some people just aren't well, too. I feel like,
very true.
I mean, yeah, parenting's great and parenting's helpful, but how long can you blame a parent for if the guy's 23 and does it?
Agreed.
How long can you blame a parent for this kid made it to 23?
Well, and
lived a whole life,
and definitely,
or not a whole life, but grew.
Right, and became an adult of some sort. And I don't think that in those instances, as far as parenting goes, I think a lot of it has to do with the younger one, like the kids that are going to school. Like, some kid was arrested because he said he was going to go to a school in Fortnite, was playing in Fortnite, and someone, he sent a message saying, "I'm going to go to my school and kill people because of a situation that happened," and the cops came and arrested him. So you can't keep making these threats. Eventually something's going to happen. But no, I agree. A lot of at what point in time do we take the blame and put it on the individual that's doing it? Because we all live in Texas now, but we've all come from different states. You've come from Texas, Stephanie's come from Arizona, I've come from California. I don't know how Arizona is with guns and all that. I know how Texas is. Texas is very much like the stereotype is
Shoot all the guns.
You move to Texas, you get handed a gun. Like, it's they're very pro Second Amendment here. California is very much the opposite. I don't like, you don't own guns, and it's heavily regulated. I don't think there's a benefit to that. I don't think that that's helped at all. I actually, since moving to Texas, have become more in alignment or agree that people should be allowed to have guns if they want to have guns. But I think we need to put responsibility on each individual and stop blaming it on guns, games. upbringing. Well, I say upbringing, but again, I blame it when they're kids. I think that a kid should be spanked every once in a while, but I don't know. We always tend to change the narrative depending on who it is and who it benefits the most.
Well, yeah, because the El Paso one, the story is that, he got tired of Mexicans coming over illegally and
Yeah.
taking jobs when they lived in Texas when it was Mexico, and then all of a sudden they became the United States.
Right.
When you don't jump over the border and the border jumps over you, there's not really too much you can do about it. And then there's people who just went to Walmart one day to go pick something up, and I think I heard a story of a guy who dropped his mom off at the door and drove off, and she went inside and got shot. And I want to say she didn't make it.
No matter what, it's a shitty situation. Like, there's no time in which any kind of murder is justifiable. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I don't know.
You took us down this dark path.
I know, and I'm regretting it. Like,
You fix it. When you said that you wanted to talk about this, I was like, all right, and
It's
then
heavy.
you let it be last.
Yeah, it's heavy.
So now you gotta find a way to.
No, I don't want a world in which I can't play, or even my kid. My kid's only 2 years old, but I mean, eventually I plan on letting her play video games, but I don't want it to be a world in which someone sees someone playing video games and it's like, oh, that person's gonna be a murderer. And you know what? You and I play together, and we've gotten to a point where Cleve and I play a couple different games together, and we've gotten to a point where we only hang out in closed chat with each other because of the obscene things that other people say.
Well, that's another thing too. Is the rage meter is so high that it used to be, and the sensitivity meter is so low. When someone's on video and tells somebody, "Oh, go drink bleach" or something like that, you know what I mean? Like, they're doing it for ha-has and he-he's, and then someone goes and does it.
Yeah.
Yeah. At that point, I don't think it's
That
the internet.
I think
I mean,
is
games. I think it's more of like being able to talk to people across the world. Through the internet.
That I think is the negative part of the games. Like, I don't think that the games are the problem. I think it's the toxicity in the gaming community.
What do you think?
Not
creates-
everybody is positive.
So, what do you think the difference is between? Is it that we're able? Is it anonymity? Like, what causes the toxicity in the gaming world?
I get mad because I didn't win, and I'm not face to face with you, so I can say whatever I want. You'll never find me. What?
And we've talked about that before. Like, there have been. I can't remember the situation when you and I were talking about how someone randomly yelled the N-word, and his friend was like, "I don't know how to take that now."
Yeah. Because to me, in my opinion, if you, out of anger, and that's the first word you reach for, there's something else in there. It's not just like oh man, it was an accident. Like,
you got a glimpse into
you are like, oh my god, you blurt it out. That to me is pegged you.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Attack someone's, and what's crazy is they don't even see the person.
Right.
It's just the first negative thing they could think to say.
Which I think is what makes it worse.
Right.
Yeah. I don't know, like, what... So it's the anonymity, then. It's the fact that you don't know who I am, you don't know where I live, you can say whatever you want. So at what point in time did we stop caring about other people and only care about ourselves? Because I feel like that's a big part of it. Like, there's less awareness or caring about each other and more just, like, yourself. And that goes down to everything. That's like... when you see two people fighting and everybody's whipping out their phone to video it instead of helping. Or I didn't even tell you this story because I didn't even know how to really bring it up or talk about it, other than it happened and it just happened. When we were in Florida recently, when I was in Florida recently, I was driving to go pick up a board game for myself, my wife, and her family to play. And I was sitting in the turn lane, and a homeless man came running across the street, stopped in front of me because he saw that my light was green, saw that I had stopped because I didn't want him to just jump out in front of me.
Right.
So then, because I stopped, he decided to run. And he started running, and the next lane over didn't stop because we had a green light.
Right.
Going 40 miles an hour, right into him. Dude went flying, lost shoes. Like, it was like a, like, and so the first thing in my head was, put it in park, looked at Katie, said, call 911 now, give him directions where we're at. I got out, went to the guy, and started asking him questions, talking to him, and just trying to make sure he stood still and stuff. And, like, I was talking to Katie about it. When we were driving away, I'll talk a little bit more about the rest of it, but when we were driving away, I was talking to Katie, and there's that, it doesn't exist a lot anymore, where when something bad happens, very rarely are people running towards it to help. They're all running away, or they're all, like, I was sitting there helping this guy, talking to him, hey, please stay down, because he was, unfortunately, I think he was under the influence of something else. He was not cognizant, but he was also hit by a car, so at the same time,
Fair point, yeah.
Yeah, he was hit in the hip. I watched, like, it hit him in the hip, and he flipped and then smashed his face in the ground. So, like, he had a busted face. So I rolled him over, and you could see his face was pretty busted up, but he very much was like, oh, no, I need to go. I was like, no, man, you need to lay down. Like, just stay here. So I went, another guy came up and helped. And then the lady that hit him came running over. And all she could think about was, I didn't hit him. Like, it wasn't my fault. And I get that. Like, it's already a traumatic situation. You're saying, I didn't hit him. You know, you just basically, you don't want to be at fault.
Yeah. You don't want to have killed someone.
But she at least stopped, which I appreciate. Because at first I thought they just kept going.
Well, I'm sure maybe she saw that there was witnesses. That's,
yeah, which is highly
that's the worst
possible.
situation to be in.
Which is highly possible, because I absolutely witnessed the whole thing, and like, you watch it and it happens in slow motion when you watch stuff like this happen. But what was amazing to me is, while I'm sitting there with an umbrella talking to this dude, covering his face because it's getting rained on, and I'm talking to him, and another guy comes up and says, hey, do you need help? And all of a sudden I just hear a bunch of horns honking. And, like, all I could think was, here's this man that was hit by a car. You obviously, like, even if you didn't see it, you see the cars are stopped and you see people in the middle of the road. Rather than be concerned, the first thought was, get out of the way. To the point where people started driving around us. And, like, so I'm sitting there, like, having to stand between him and cars so that they're not, like, running over this man laying on the ground.
Right.
And so it's that mentality of, I don't care what's going on. I would Cleve's done something, and he'll probably never talk about it. That Stephanie actually made a pop-up that we'll show a picture of someday.
Oh.
But what's, even for animals, it's crazy. So Cleve was driving to work one day and saw a little ducklings walking across the street, and one duckling happened to fall in a sewer grate, the side sewer where you see it crawl, or Pennywise crawl out of, that kind of thing, and fell in there.
The creepy ones where you just kind of run away from.
Yes.
And if you know Cleve, you know I don't like that.
Right. And Cleve's first response, and I think this is why we're all friends, is that we all very much the same mentality. And Cleve's first response was, put car in park, went and found the manhole that led to this gutter, crawled down the manhole, and went and saved the duck. Like, no other person that was there would have done that. They would have just kept going.
Yep.
I mean, Jennifer's grabbed random stopped in the middle of the road to save turtles, but, like, that mentality is gone. And what stopped it from happening? Or, like, why is there less of that and more me mentality?
No compassion and all hatred.
And I think that's a big reason why we're seeing an uprise in shootings. While I agree that mental stability has a part in that, I think that we've made leaps and bounds as far as medicinal. Like, I think that medicine-wise, we've made great improvement in what going forward. But I think that we've lost compassion for humanity.
I think it's hard to catch it too, though. How many times you hear somebody be like, "Oh, they were so quiet. Oh, they seem so happy."
Yeah.
Like Robin Williams. I mean, who would have ever thought that he was struggling with something except for probably the people closest to him? And he went to, what, 62?
Yeah.
Ish, somewhere on there?
Well, and I would tell you, so, I don't know. Depression's really tough. So, God, we're getting deep in this one, huh? All right, this might be on Patreon, so that only the people that care enough to pay.
No, man. The people need to hear this.
No, so, I mean, in my teenage years, I dealt with a lot of depression. To the point where I was diagnosed with clinical depression. I was on all kinds of antidepressants, and like it was, you would have never known. I'm the same guy I am right now, happy all the time, like joking around. Like you guys get to see me angry and you see me stressed out, but like the rest of the world doesn't. So I dealt with it a lot. There were many times where I thought that suicide was the answer, and it just didn't happen. Maybe someday, if I feel comfortable enough, I'll tell everybody. But
I mean, I think that strangely, even if it's for a split second, there's a certain angsty age. Not saying that was your situation.
Agreed.
But there's like a
Absolutely.
there's like a 13, 14-year-old window
absolutely.
where you're like, I'm done with this.
What's the purpose? Right. No,
Yeah.
Absolutely. And I agree. I would tell you that you and I have talked about my upbringing and your upbringing, and Stephanie, we've heard some of the stories about you, but you are a mystery to us for the most part.
Her name's Stephanie?
But no, I mean, I didn't have the best upbringing, and there was a lot of times where I thought that was the best way out. And like I said, things happened, interventions, whatever it was, it didn't end up happening. I knew a cheerleader back in high school that was super happy, go lucky, loved everything, and then all of a sudden one day she wasn't there anymore. And so that's one thing, and I don't think that's here's a shitty thing out there. If you're ever helping anybody with depression, by the way, please don't, for the love of God, ever say something along the lines of, suicide's selfish. Because it's a really shitty thing to say to someone that's dealing with that particular situation. If it is someone that is doing it simply for attention, unfortunately, you can't really weed those out, and I'd rather you treat it as though it's not than it is, because it's easier, or it's better and safer to do so. But it's not a selfish thing. Like, you killing yourself, genuinely, when you're going through that, you feel like you're doing it because it might make everybody else better. Like, I don't think ever, anytime I was serious about, like, being suicidal, that I thought, oh, man, I can't wait till they have to live without me. It was always, I genuinely think that I'm a burden upon life, and this will make other people's lives better. Not thinking about the consequences, not thinking about what could happen or how people would take it. But the reason I say that is because I think that the true problem, for people that are dealing with depression, is reach out to everybody, not just we've talked about this before, and as I've said, happy people are depressed. Everybody's dealing with shit, and for you to just kind of every once in a blue moon talk to someone, it makes it worth it for the record. But I think that the real selfish act is the people that are taking lives of others for petty reasons, stupid things, and the lack of compassion. And we have this introverted world where you see everybody walking around enveloped in their screens. They don't do anything. And I think that we've lost the capability of cooperating or dealing with or cohabitating with other individuals. Like, that's not a primary focus of people anymore. Because you can live on your own. You can do nothing. You don't have to interact with people. You can order stuff online. I can literally never leave this house if I wanted to, and maintain a job, a life, a family, everything, without ever leaving this house.
Not healthily, but you could do it.
True. But that's the point. I think that by doing that, you're creating that instability in your mental health. Like, you're no longer talking to people. You don't have that empathy with people. Mm-hmm. But that being said, like Cleve said, there are people out there with just mental instabilities, like sociopaths. Like, there are sociopathic individuals that should be taking medicine of some sort. I don't know.
There's a guy I went to high school with. I was probably 24. He was 22. But again, one of those guys you don't think anything of. He went home to his mom's house, went to the backyard, and hung himself on the tree. Just, that was it.
It's crazy. I'll tell you, like I said, I took lots of different pills. I took, like organic or what, like non-medicine-y stuff. Mm-hmm. I've taken medicine, homeopathic. I've taken homeopathic stuff. I've taken pharmaceuticals. I've tried illegal drugs before, all hoping that this would stop. And, like, it gets to a point where you just have to, like, the cycle breaks because you want it to,
Yeah.
or you find something that makes it worth it, that makes you stop like going down that dark path. I guess I don't know, but I'm mainly concerned about the growth in, like I said, just people driving by and not caring, or like, I mean, how many times have you stopped and like if someone's broken down the side road, like helped them,
Yeah.
pushed a car. I've parked my. Now I will tell you that it has lessened since I have a wife and kid. Like if my wife and kid are in the car, I won't stop for people anymore, because unfortunately there's crazy people out there.
You know what? I always, and I taught my nieces and nephews this too, because I was like, you should help somebody if you have the opportunity to help. Now, I mean, as selfishly as this sounds, if I've got 5 minutes more to get to work and you're broken down, I have somewhere to be. But if I'm just driving, if I'm just going from point A to point B at my leisure and there's someone stopping, I just about 100% of the time stop.
Yeah.
Hey, you need anything? No? Okay.
I'll say before I had Katie in the car, even before James, I would say before Jameson, sometimes before Katie, but even when Katie was with me, it wasn't as bad. I would be late to work. I would, it's like, and I'm not saying give every dime and dollar you got to every single person you see, but having empathy or understanding and putting yourself in someone else's shoes and having just a compassion towards your own species feels like it's primal. I mean, like, you look at every other species and I feel like they like have some kind of, I don't know, code where they all look out for each other for the most part.
Well, unless you have like something wrong with you, and then they just kind of kill you.
Which maybe those weeds. Yeah, that's true.
Like, besides
They're
that
sick,
point,
yeah. Well, I mean, like you think about like lions, like lion prides or wolves packs. They put their sick and elderly in the front because they don't want to be slower than they're only as fast as their slowest person.
Right.
Because they want to or their slowest pack member, because they want to make sure that they protect everybody. Like, I don't know. It just sucks that we have to now be worried about what school our kids are going to. I have to worry about what Walmart I'm going to. I have to worry about these things and whether or not I'm going to go buy a bag of cereal today and it's going to be my last freaking day.
Right. I also worked with a guy, strangely enough, that he had this girlfriend. She was pregnant. They were doing well. They got into a fight one day, and he went up to her house. He shot and killed her, which killed the baby. He shot her mother, and then they said the evidence showed that he chased her 10-year-old brother through the house, cornered him, and then shot him, and then turned himself in.
Crap.
It's like, there's some breaking point, and some people's are more or less than others, but there's no, I mean, and I had a friend, because we all worked together, I had another friend that was really close with him. He was like, I just wish he would have called me. If he just called me, I could, the whole world could be different right now.
Yeah.
And he just called me.
And I think that's important too, because it's stressful to put the idea that, and you hear everybody say it now, and you see everybody share the stuff, and you say, go reach out to a friend, or if say hello to people. And yes, I 100% am a component and believe that you should be doing that. Or proponent, sorry, not component. You should be doing that. You should, and I think that's just a general, like, I think it's silly, but like I'll go through my phone book and it'll go, oh, hey, I haven't talked to this person in a while. Select it and just say, hey, how you been?
Yeah.
Just because I think every person should be talked to. I think everybody should have that connection with somebody. But on top of that, I think that if you're feeling this way in any capacity, if you genuinely don't value other people's lives or your own life, at some point in time, you have to. We have to either make it more comfortable, or make it something that's you can talk about, or make it more accessible to talk to people. But they also need to take it upon themselves to try to reach out to someone. Do you know what I mean? Like,
yeah,
it's tough because What's his name? Logic. So Logic came out with 2 songs that I think are really important for anybody that's dealing with depression or anxiety to listen to. The first one is, I cannot remember the number off the top of my head, but it is actually the Suicide Hotline phone number. That's the name of his song, and it's just talking about how it feels to be going through depression, how it feels to want to commit suicide. And it very much is, by the end of it, it's saying, there's a reason to live life, live life. But the other one is anxiety, and that's another thing that I think kind of makes people snap. And it's something that has developed within the last, 20, 30 years. Like, anxiety didn't seem to be a big thing before our generation.
I think it's just a thing that nobody talked about or knew what it was.
Possibly. I always attributed a lot of it to we have no moment where we're not live. Like, everything's constantly streaming, everything's online, I can see everything that everybody's doing, and we're almost expected to keep up with it. And for people that run a podcast, I genuinely, and Cleve is probably the best about it as far as staying on top of things, but we have to be on top of a lot of things. Cleve comes in with notebooks of stuff, and we always have to be on top of everything, because in 10 minutes, as stupid as it sounds, in 10 minutes, Sony and Disney could talk about, we're going to get back together, and suddenly this entire episode becomes worthless.
Right.
So we have to be on top of everything, and I think that's kind of how our society is now. We're connected all the time. By having the internet, we're expected to always know what's going on, and that creates that weird, stress. And so he has a song called Anxiety, and I 100% suggest listening to it if you deal with any anxiety, because he describes it really well and talks about his own personal, how he lived his entire life and never once felt what an anxiety attack was, and then was outside of a movie theater and all of a sudden went to the hospital. His girlfriend had to call the ambulance and everything. They rushed him away because he, suffered from this. So I think that's normalizing at least conversations about it, and I think that's important.
Derek took me to the hospital because I had a panic attack. And
It's crazy.
Didn't know what it was until a few years later when I started having them more regularly.
And
that's what that was.
It's insane because it's not describable. You don't know, and you try to describe it to someone, and you're like, this is what I was going through, and it's that just... that sounds weird.
Right.
Katie had one not too long ago and was very much freaked out about the whole thing. And she goes, I've never felt that before. I was like, that is something I've regularly dealt with for the last 5 or 6 years. It just is a thing.
It feels like you're dying.
Yeah.
That's just what it is.
Yeah. And so,
which sounds irrational, but that's what it is.
Oh, 100%. It feels, and you feel crazy at the end of it. When you're
Yeah.
done with everything, you look back and you're like, why did I act this way? But like I said, great songs. I would suggest listening to them. But I think it's important for anybody that's feeling that way. So if you're out there and you do feel this way, please try to reach out. Even if it's to us. If you want to write to us anonymously to friendship.supreme, no jokes aside, if you need to talk to someone, we all 3 watch this mailbox and we will gladly respond to it. If you just need a pen pal, we can do that.
Yeah. No reason why we can't.
But please reach out. I think it's super important. I'm sorry that this was such a depressing topic. Maybe I will cut these 2 episodes in half. So if you're watching the Marvel one and you're like, why are we talking about this? Or if you're watching this one and you didn't see the Marvel one, we all filmed both together. Originally going to do both of them because one was a light topic and one was kind of a heavier
Just
topic.
post them separately.
Yeah.
Or post them same day, just
separately. But sorry it's such a heavy topic, but I think it's something that's come
something
up.
that should be talked about.
Yeah, it's very important, and we're very much not famous. We're not superstars, so we're
still down to earth.
We live, yeah, right. we literally live your guys' lives. We're working 24. I mean, we work in this. We work our jobs. We have our families. We have our issues. So if you need someone to talk to, we're definitely here. I'm getting all choked up. But yeah, it's
The song, by the way, is 1-800-273-8255.
So yes, that is the suicide hotline. If you ever feel like you just need to talk to someone, I don't know if you guys know this is a free service. It's a 1-800 number. Call it. It's just other people on the other line. Usually it's teenagers, young adults that are feeling similar to what you're feeling and are just people there to talk to. You don't even have to talk to them about suicidal thoughts, feelings, anything like that. You can literally just call them to talk about how your day's going. And they're there for you. So please, I'll put the number down below somewhere. Take a look at that. I think we started out this talking about if video games cause violence. I'll tell you, I've played video games my whole life. Without joking, because there's a lot of people that joke like, "Oh, I played Mario, but I'm not trying to climb down sewage pipes, stuff like that." All jokes aside, I don't think it's video games that make you violent. I think that
we don't know what it is, but we're here no matter what it is.
Yeah,
and that's what's important.
Yeah, I think it could be a lot of things, and I think that no matter what, if you need support, we're here for you. Even Stephanie, who is staring at us weirdly. It's weird. I kind of feel like at this point I don't know what to say. But definitely, yeah, reach out to us if you need anything. Again, sorry it was such a heavy topic, but yep.
It needs to be talked about.
It does. I've been Michael.
This is Cleve. Give us a call.